Happy Vlogmas Day 2 and cheers. I've got something really interesting to share with you today. It is a book called The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down by Ann Fadiman. Ann Fadiman is a brilliant writer. She tells a story, and this is a medical story. She tells it with such detail, compassion, and empathy. And what this story really is about is the collision of the Hmong culture and what their beliefs are with modern medical science, medicines, American doctors. And boy, was it a collision. It resulted in something tragic for her child. And you're going to, if you read this, go through so many emotions. Like, how could the parents do this? Oh, wait, how could the doctors do this? That's not fair. Can't they all get along? But when you have such a significant cultural difference and extreme communication gap, even with an interpreter, communication was not adequate. I'll explain exactly what the title means and my perspective of it, because having worked in pediatrics most of my career, maternal child 2 and other areas, but peds was my main area. And we saw through the years a lot of families whose differences in culture interfered with their child's well-being. Now, some children did die, and in this case, you're going to see that kind of a situation. It's so much more difficult than people know. And I guess I would say, when you read things like the doctors are pulling off life support off this child, there's a whole story behind it. And it's usually as a result of those feelings, are a result of miscommunication and somebody's not understanding the other person adequately. Let me get to the point. This is a story about a child named Leah Lee. She has 8 other siblings. She has a mother and a father, and they are from the Hmong culture and Hmong group that came from Laos. They came to the United States in a specific area of California as they migrated here after the Vietnam War. The Hmongs had to flee for the safety of their families and for fear of persecution. And they came, in this case, the Lee family came to California in the early 1980s. The Hmong culture believes in spirits. The spirit, the soul is everything. And everything you choose in life or do to a person medically, for example, is going to possibly interfere with that person's spirit. And so isn't our spirit or our soul everything to us? So if you truly believe that a lumbar puncture in the back or a lab draw in the arm is going to interfere or have negative ramifications for your child because of their spirit, you're damaging their spirit, and you're going to do everything you can to protect that child, even though, to us that maybe feels like, well, that doesn't really make sense, but it makes sense to them and it's real to them. Leah had a seizure disorder, or if you can also call it epilepsy. So Leah's first seizure was due to her mother felt her older sibling slamming a door. So the older sibling, it just happened at the same time, slammed a door, and then at age 3 months, Leah Lee had her first seizure. The parents saw this, and she then went on to have more seizures. But they lived 3 blocks from a hospital, and after the seizure did not stop on its own, a few seizures later, they picked her up and they ran 3 blocks and brought her into the emergency room. That, I explained, was at 3 months of age. That went on and on and on because the parents did not fully believe in giving her anti-seizure medications. And her seizure disorder was hard to treat, significant, and she also had difficult veins. So when somebody's in status epilepticus and you need to stop that seizure, you need to put an IV in and give them some anti-seizure medication right away. But when you have trouble getting a vein, it's every minute that goes by that child or person is seizing is causing or could cause some significant damage, particularly brain damage. The seizures that she had were so long and significant that it caused her to aspirate. She had aspiration in her lungs, which then led to pneumonia, which then led to other medical problems. She was a very sick child her entire life. Is it the fault of the medical community or her parents, or a combination of both? I have my own feeling about it, but I want to know what your feelings are, and have you read this book? So we start the seizures at 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. But as these seizures continue and the parents say that they are so reluctant to treat her for the seizures, then CPS or Child Protective Services got involved, social workers got involved, other people got involved, interpreters were there. But in the 80s, interpreters were not there in the hospital or clinics 24 hours a day. There was not access to them back at that time. When I was working on the PEDS floor in the 80s, until it became law that an interpreter service had to be available, we used to have the person who did the announcing on the intercom call for somebody. Could we have a Korean interpreter on 4 North? Korean interpreter on 4 North, and somebody would come. That's how we did it back in the day. So here we've got parents who speak zero English, and they have a very sick child, and they don't understand what you're doing, and they feel truly that you're harming their child. And then you have nobody to help explain this. And finally, when you intermittently get an interpreter, you're not going to agree with it. And so the problems continue. The pediatricians that worked at this hospital and all the other staff and the nurses, they became very familiar with her. And I want to talk about that too, about what happens when you have, you're working your 10 or 20 years of your career in this hospital, but you have one patient that dominates all of your emotional and physical time. Leah was taken away from her parents on more than one occasion. She would go into temporary foster care. She went into foster care for many, many months. That's so harsh when that has to happen, because especially in this case, the parents do not understand. Why are they not fully understanding this? That your child's going to get taken away if you don't give the medication or give the antibiotics for her lung infection, or come in for the other child and put a cast on the broken arm. That looks like medical neglect in our country. CPS gets involved, and it hurts the parents even more. They feel so defeated, and mom becomes extremely depressed. The pediatricians in the hospital knew, the staff knew, that one day there's going to be a seizure that they called the big one. One day it's going to come, and we're not going to be able to stop it. And they know that if you're not going to be able to stop it, especially after years of status epilepticus or years of her seizing at home, or inadequate medical care, that we would deem inadequate medical care, that child is going to have one big seizure that will end her life. And they knew this was going to happen. They feared this. They had anxiety over this. When you read the book about how this is impacting the staff, you read words like insomnia, anxiety, depression, hopelessness, helplessness, frustration, extreme frustration and anger. That is just like you're out of your mind with anger, because here this child comes in again, sicker than ever. Did you give her medication? Why not? What is going on here? Why aren't you bringing her back for her appointments? And this revolving door thing just continues on. When the parents can't handle her seizures at home, they would run her into the hospital. This went on and on and on until the big one happened. And she was age 4. And at age 4, she came into the hospital, this time by ambulance. And the staff was there, and they could not, for a long time, stop the seizing. And Leah ended up in I hate to say the word vegetative state, but that's how a lot of people, that's the terminology that a lot of people use to understand what is really going on. But she had a catastrophic seizure at age 4 that resulted in permanent brain damage and an inability to speak, to swallow, to walk, to be herself. She lived in this state until she turned 30 years old. All those years she lived at home, parents carrying her, parents pulling the NG tube out and force feeding her, even though she didn't have a gag reflex, could swallow. But why? Here's the question. Why? Because they believed that when that door slammed and she had her first seizure, that their terminology is the spirit catches you and you fall down. At that time, Leah lost her spirit. So the parents thought, and they also believe that people who have seizures are extra special, that they grow up to become shaman, that they, during their seizures, can go back and forth to speak to gods, to see other spirits. They are extremely, what words do I use? They treated her like a princess. They called her a princess. She was then to be treated with all of their attention. The community felt that way. The parents definitely felt that way. The siblings had to treat her like that. She got carried all the time. She was now going to be the shaman. And each seizure brought her closer to that kind of life. The parents then are thinking, why would they suppress this? Why would they give medicine? Why would American doctors force her to stop being what she's chosen to be? Oh boy, their culture is dynamic. It is complicated, but these things are ingrained in them. And there's many cultures where they have things that they are not going to budge an inch with. You wonder, were they even good parents? How could they be good parents if they're letting this happen? That's the frustration that comes in, right? But they were good parents. They were good parents because they deeply loved their children. This community of Hmong culture are family oriented. They have a lot of children. They just keep having children. 8, 9, 10, 15, 16. Can't remember how many pregnancies Leah's mom had, but she had, I think, 14 or something. And during the years that they lived in Laos, many of the children died, so they had 9 left. But they loved their children deeply, and these mothers are strong women. And these fathers who helped the United States in the Vietnam War were not wimps. They were warriors. They were reliable. They fought hard. These women birthed their own babies. They also believe that when you are in labor and giving birth, that you need to be quiet. I could just go on and on about some of the things that they believe. But the parents wanted for their child to have an incorporation of, instead of antibiotics, for example, we're going to use certain rocks, pebbles, certain stones, and certain herbs. We're going to rub that on her body. We're going to put things on her scalp. And the other thing they did a lot of, which will upset people, is they absolutely believed in sacrificing animals. And that was common, and that happened a lot. They sacrificed animals to help a person heal. They sacrificed animals for celebration. They sacrificed many animals to help Leah over the years of her illness. The community would come together, the family members would come together, and they sacrificed cows, birds, chickens, other things. And they also believe in sacrificing dogs, but in the United States, there's a protection against doing such a thing to dogs. But that is in their culture to do that. Did they do it on the side? I don't know, but that's what they believe in to help heal Leah. So after 26 years of being in a persistent vegetative state with no brain activity, no ability to walk, talk, swallow, Leah's parents did force her, like I said, to swallow. They'd put her neck in a certain position and they would feed her because they were not going to have an NG tube placed in their child's body. They took good care of her and they loved her very much. It is so hard to understand these things sometimes, isn't it? And we want to incorporate both. And a lot of cultures do incorporate both, their cultural beliefs along with modern medicine. But in this case, they weren't wanting to listen to the American doctors. So for 26 years, Leah then, like I said, was in this state of no brain activity and was cared for by her mother and siblings. And she eventually died in 2012 from pneumonia. She was 30 years old. Her siblings went on to have successful lives. They were very smart, and the author continues, and Fadiman continues to speak about this story. It affected her entire life. It changed her life. She spent 16, I think it was approximately 16 years or so with this family. She continues to speak to this family and the siblings, and she continues to have interviews with physicians on YouTube, on their podcasts, to talk about this cultural difference and what the devastating effects can be. Even now that we have a law about 24-hour interpreter services, so that she could better understand, or both parents could better understand, would it have made a difference? I don't know, but we'll never know. But we do know in hospitals and clinics now, we have a interpreter service on a phone. We have an interpreter service on a computer type system on wheels that goes into one room and another room. Open it up, choose which language you need, and you're going to connect like Zoom with your patients, the family members, and the interpreter, who is a hired professional. I didn't really like that, and the author she had access before HIPAA, before things changed. She had access to all the medical records, absolutely everything. So here you have somebody who's a non-medical person reading and interpreting and even putting a nurse's name in as to what the nurse wrote down. And I'm reading it thinking, that sounds so terrible, but it isn't meant to be critical. It just has a meaning that everybody else can understand a little bit better. If parents are refusing to do X, Y, and Z, and they are difficult, or we interpret them as being just really obstinate, we're not going to say difficult, obstinate patient or parent. We're going to say non-compliant. We're going to see decided to refuse, declined services, declined medication, etc. I lost track how many ER visits Leah Lee had. I believe in my notes here I have 16th admissions, and I believe it was the 16th admission that she ended up with the big one, and she was intubated, and she then was sent to Fresno to the pediatric ICU. Both parents have passed away. Leah Lee has passed away. Her story is being told still to this day. If you look up interviews from Ann Fadiman, if you look up different podcasts, they're talking about it to this day. I look at it from the point of view as a nurse and how we've taken care of many, many families similar to this, not exactly like this, and it ends up being your whole career. If you spend 10 years, nurses nowadays don't spend 10 and 20 years on one floor. We did, but if you spend 20 years on one floor and you have a family that comes in for medical issues, whether it's cancer, cystic fibrosis, you're going to become close with them. But in this case, this was a very difficult case, and it caused a lot of friction, and it caused a lot of angst and resentment and anger and frustration, and it had a lot of negative impacts on staff there, rather than they're looking at their medical career as fantastic. Instead, it was dominated by one difficult case. I can see the frustration. I can completely understand it, but I can also understand that this is exactly what can happen when a family who has solid beliefs feel ignored and that you're actually harming their child. If you have read this, please let me know. I'm interested in what you think about this. What do you think about this story? My name is Lisa. For those of you who don't know, I'm a registered nurse. I was an LPN before I was an RN, and then I was a nurse assistant and a volunteer in a hospital. Before that, I feel like I completely grew up in hospitals because I did. In fact, one of the residents was my wedding planner, and I've been married for, I don't know, guys. I got married really young. So I think that, I think we've been married 34, 5 or 6 years, something like that. Who's counting anymore? But I do fun vlogs. I do medical topics. I try to explain things to make it interesting and discuss myths and facts about medicine. So if this interests you, or if you know somebody who likes medical stories or medical books, please do this. It's free. And please pass this along to somebody who might appreciate it. Have a good day.